Hi, citizens. This is Jim with JP Reacts. We come to think like a politician so you can figure out what politicians mean by what they're saying and what they're not saying. Today, we're going to be covering a story about Governor Cuomo from New York. In early days of the pandemic, he was seen as a pretty great governor, responding well to the pandemic. But did he actually do that? Stay tuned after this to find out. Okay, so we're going to be covering Governor Cuomo and his response to the pandemic. Early on in the pandemic, he was seen as somebody that was responding well to it, in response basically to the lack of response coming from the White House and President Trump's administration. So whatever his shortcomings have been, which we'll talk about in this, we want to make sure we don't compare it to what President Trump has done or didn't do, actually. And it's more about was he doing what we all thought he was doing early on in the pandemic? There was not a lot of support from the federal government, so it was really left to the governors to try to manage this on their own. Some did better than others. Governor Cuomo, at least publicly, was thought to have been doing some things pretty well, and we want to see if that actually holds up. So this is the first quick video I want to show is from May of last year, 2020. This is when we think of the response from Governor Cuomo, this is kind of what we think about. So let's listen in.
Look at New York, our curve is down. Congratulations, New Yorkers. And actually, the curve in the rest of the nation is up. So while cases are increasing across the country, the number of cases in New York are actually going down. And that's remarkable in some ways because we had more cases than anyone else, not because there's anything particular in the air in New York, but because we had people coming from Europe bringing the virus at a time when no one knew the virus had moved from China to Europe. And we had 3 million Europeans come January, February, March before we did the ban on European travel. And those flights came to the East Coast, and they landed at JFK Airport, which was one of the funnel airports, if you remember. So the problem had nothing to do with us, but we were then tasked with resolving it, and New Yorkers stepped up to the plate and have done a great job. Question now is on reopening.
So early on, New York was hit really hard. As the governor said, there was a lot of international travel from Europe. New York is a hub for international travel, always has been, and will be probably in the future. So there was a lot of additional pressure on New York, and New York was one of the first places that get hit hard by the pandemic early on. So they were kind of trying just to figure it out as they went along. So there was probably a lot of mistakes made, and there was one of them being what to do with the influx of patients to hospitals and what to handle it and whatnot. So I'm getting a lot of this information from a story from Slate, which I know is a left-leaning publication, but I wanted to make sure for those on the left that feel like Governor Cuomo did a great job, I want to make sure I used a left-leaning publication in my coming up with the information for this, not because I wanted to find something that is easy on him, but one that actually looked at it from the liberal side of the spectrum to make sure it was fair and something that somebody would see as respectable. So what happened early on is there was a lot of information going around on what to do and what not to do. Governor Cuomo, as you saw, provided daily press conferences that seemed to be science-based and forward-looking. From the Slate article, there's some discrepancy on that and how often he actually talked to the scientists. There's also some of the policies that he implemented, especially with his arguments with the New York City mayor about what to do about this, have continued, and they haven't actually been following the science on those things, such as shutting down the the subway system to clean it every night, when months ago it turned out that it is very difficult to get coronavirus from touch. So when you're looking at his public face, which is what everybody saw across the country, he was putting on a good public face, but behind the scenes, it doesn't seem like he was actually following it. And then he came out early on about when there wasn't a lot of PPE, the protective equipment, personal protective equipment for healthcare workers. He came out and had this press conference about hand sanitizer. So let's listen to that.
Open the curtain, please.
We are introducing New York State Clean hand sanitizer, made conveniently by the state of New York. This is a superior product to products now on the market. The World Health Organization, CDC, all those people suggest 60% alcohol content. Purell, competitor to New York State Clean, 70% alcohol. This is 75% alcohol. It also comes in a variety of sizes. It has a very nice floral bouquet.
Floral bouquet. Okay, so basically, it turns out that the New York State sanitizer was basically just bought from third-party companies and relabeled New York State Clean. So it wasn't. He claimed it was cheaper, but they basically just bought it from those competitors, as he said. So it wasn't exactly honest, right? So you want to make sure when we're thinking about this is in the middle of a pandemic. Obviously, you want science to lead the way, and it seemed like he was doing that. And a lot of the stuff he said was science-based, and it was helpful. As you saw from that first part, the cases in New York did go down, so he did a lot of good stuff. But he also did some stuff that, like the hand sanitizer, that was probably more for show than for actual doing. Right? There was a shortage of hand sanitizer. And it wasn't like New York State was making it themselves. They were just buying it and then repackaging it. So it was good PR for the governor, and he still has a high approval rating in the state. So it is going to help him. But we want to keep that in mind when you're looking at any statement by a public official. What's the story behind it? So, but the reason we wanted to talk about Governor Cuomo mainly today is because there's come out a scandal about his statistics when it comes to nursing home, and the FBI is looking into it itself. It turns out that he may have manipulated the statistics. We're going to show him addressing it here in this quick video of it, but I wanted to make sure that we talk about it first. And basically the claim is that he's not fully reporting the statistics of who died in the nursing home. Early on in the pandemic, he made the decision for elderly patients that were probably not going to make it to move back to the nursing home to die at the nursing homes. Was it the right idea or the bad idea? It's hard to say. Given what was happening in New York, most of the hospitals were overflowing at that point. So there was a bunch of bad decisions. They had a choice of bad decisions to be made. So was that the best decision? I'm not an epidemiologist, so I can't say for sure. I'm sure there's others who could, but that was probably one of the bad decisions, the bad choices that had to be made. So I'm not sure what he based that decision on, but the problem now isn't necessarily that decision. The problem now is the hiding of the statistics. So what it sounds like he did was when people from nursing homes died, they counted them in the hospital statistics. And the justification that was made for that was they didn't actually die at the nursing home. They got transported to the hospitals and died at the hospitals. So they are being counted in the deaths. They're just being counted as hospital deaths because that's where they actually died. So let's listen to how he's addressing the scandal. This is his response.
This is a horrendous situation. But I want you to have the facts because I don't want you to have more pain from this noise. All the information that the state put out about all the deaths, hospital deaths and nursing home deaths, from day one. This is how many people died in hospitals. This is how many people died in nursing homes. Total deaths, the same number. Well, how many people died in a nursing home but were first in a hospital? How many people died in a hospital but who were first in a nursing home? How many people do you presume died after they left the hospital? How many people do you presume died after a nursing home? I understand many questions, but this information of total deaths was provided always. We get a request from the Department of Justice in August. With other Democratic governors only, by the way, nursing home deaths happen nationwide, Democratic states, Republican states. We get a request letter from the Department of Justice, same day, just Democratic governors. Okay, I guess that was coincidental. I guess that wasn't.
Okay, so that was Governor Cuomo's response to it. Basically, the bigger issue is that all of that actual data was compiled by the Attorney General, who's independently elected in the state of New York, and then released. So should he have done this differently? What was the... I know he was under intense pressure from his decision early on to send those patients back to the nursing home. So was this an effort to cover up the amount of deaths in the nursing home? No, I wasn't in on those meetings. I can't say for sure. We're going to have to wait for an investigation if this was more of just the way they wanted to report it, or if this was an actual cover-up because they wanted to suppress the number of nursing home deaths. When the way he's framing it now, he's framing it as a political attack from the Trump White House, which it could have been the original start of the investigation, because who knows what President Trump was thinking at the time. He wasn't exactly known for looking upon the blue states favorably in his eyes when it comes to these situations, even though COVID has been impacting all the states equally at this point. But the facts are that a lot of those patients that died in the hospital did come from nursing homes. They were just transported and ended up dying there. So was this a result of him wanting to cover up the number of deaths in nursing homes, or was just the way they decided to report it? Was early on they decided, hey, if the person dies in the hospital, it's a hospital death. The person dies at nursing home, it's a nursing home death. As long as the total number of deaths are accurate, what difference does it make? That could have been the conversation. You know, I can see that happening, but I could also see not what, especially given the controversial decision to send patients back to the nursing homes, not wanting to cover that up too. So hopefully I was able to provide a little more context around this. If I did, please like this video below. In the comments below, let me know, what do you think it was the case? Were these numbers off because he deliberately was trying to suppress the number of nursing home deaths due to his controversial decision early on in the pandemic? Or was this just a decision that was made early on how to count the deaths, where if the person died at the hospital, they were counting it as a hospital death. If they died at the nursing home, they were counting it as a nursing home death. It didn't really, why or how didn't really impact the decision. It was just, let's just count it this way because this is the easiest way for it to be tracked. So in the comment below, let me know what you think about that. But until I see you around the internet next time, have a great night. See you later. Bye.